What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to talk about 1941. Ray Robinson is to your left. Marty SERVO is to your right. Why do I want to have this conversation? Ray Robinson was shafted in 1941. How? He turned professional October 4th, 1940, New York's Madison Square Garden, undercard of Fisticuffs and Henry Armstrong's welterweight championship title defense. 1 year later, 1941, he became ranked number one. The lightweight champion was SAMMY ANGOTT. And so Ray Robinson had a title shot opportunity, or did he? You see, SAMMY ANGOTT, who was the NBA lightweight champion, didn't make weight. He was 4 pounds overweight. For that reason, it became a non-title fight. Ray Robinson would defeat SAMMY ANGOTT in that fight. And they fought one another 3 times. Ray Robinson defeated him all 3 times. That was the concern. That's why the weight was not made. So he was shafted in a lightweight division. He moves up to welterweight. Same year, faces Marty SERVO, who was the welterweight champion. I want to discuss that fight with you right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Marty SERVO was born November 3rd, 1919 in Schenectady, New York. He died February 9th, 1969. Colorado. He stood 5'7", weighed 128 to 145 and a quarter pounds. He was managed by Al Wow, who was also the manager of Rocky Marciano. Marty SERVO had a total bout career of 50 fights, 46 wins, and 4 losses. 2 of those losses, of the 4 that he lost, was to Sugar Ray Robinson. 1 was to Rocky Graziano. Matter of fact, Rocky Graziano was given a title shot, but it was for a non-title opportunity. Marty SERVO fought men such as Tommy Fontana, Billy Buckless, Lou Jenkins. Fought him February 17th, 1942 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, he defeated him in 10 rounds. He was in the ring with Bobby Poison Ivy. He faced Freddie Redcock Crane February 1st, 1946 in New York, Madison Square Garden. Knocked him out in 4 rounds. And he won the welterweight championship belt. Now, he would face Freddie Archer, Graziano, March 29th, 1946. He would lose to him in 2nd round. Graziano stopped Marty SERVO in 2 rounds. But once again, it was a non-title affair. When we take a look at Ray Robinson, who was Walker Smith Jr., he was born May 3rd, 1921 in Allen, Georgia. Died April 12th, 1989, Harlem, New York. Stood 6 foot and weighed 134 and a quarter to 165 and a half pounds. Now, he had a man in his camp by the name of Soldier Jones. Soldier Jones worked at a tire fixing shop on 117th Street. Always wore suspenders. He had Harry Wiley Sr. Now, let's stop at Harry Wiley Sr. just for one moment. He began training as an amateur in 1919, New York's YMCA. He was a former water boy for Jack Dempsey. Now, we talk about 1919. Very interesting. Because 1919 was the same year Marty SERVO was born. And in 1919, Harry Wiley Sr. was a water boy. The YMCA with Jack Dempsey. 1919 was the same year Jack Dempsey would face. They called him the Lumberton Giant. His name was Jess Willard. In the corner of Jack Dempsey, you had a fighter by the name of Joe Chip. He was the brother of George Chip, who was a middleweight champion, and he defeated Frank Klaus. So Joe Chip was in the corner of Jack Dempsey, but also you had Big Bill Tate, who was also in that corner. But you also had Harry Wiley Sr. as well, never mentioned. He was the water boy. And he was the head coach of the 1932 Olympic team. You had 5 medals that was won under the tutelage of Harry Wiley Sr. He was the first black Olympic head coach that you ever had. You had 2 gold and 3 bronze medals in those 1932 Olympic Games. One of the fighters was Lou Salica. He wound up turning professional. He won a bronze medal in those games. And he wound up becoming a champion when he defeated Manuel Ortiz. Okay. You also had George Gangsford, who was a former Harlem's number runner, worked with Julian Black. And they both began to work with fighters. George Gangsford had managed Ray Robinson, Danny Bang Bang Wapner, Gene Burden, Leslie Border. And what was interesting, he was also a part of Canada Lee and Henry Armstrong, Baby Joe Gans, Muhammad Ali and Doug Jones and Lou Ambers. Harry Wiley Sr. had trained all those fighters as well. July 21st, 1941. Ray Robinson would defeat Sammy ANGOTT 10 rounds, non-title affair. Philadelphia. ANGOTT didn't make weight. 4 pounds over. Because he knew if he didn't make weight, the title would not be on the line. That was the concern. He was defeated on July 21st, 1941, and he was also defeated the other 2 fights he fought with Ray Robinson. Couldn't beat Ray Robinson if they paid him $1 million. And MARTY SERVO had faced Ray Robinson September 25th, 1941, Philadelphia. And MARTY SERVO was defeated in 10 rounds. Robinson faced MARTY SERVO again, May 28th, 1942, New York's Madison Square Garden. Robinson weighed 144 pounds. Servo weighed 143 pounds. He had 13,673 exciting spectators waiting to see this bout. And collectively, they contributed $31,870 that was worked hard for. MARTY SERVO was deducted a round because of low blows against Ray Robinson. And that title was not on the line. MARTY SERVO will be introduced into the Schenectady School District 2005 Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Capital District Sports Hall of Fame 2003. Title then became frozen 42. And so in 1946, titles were unfrozen. But MARTY SERVO decided to retire, claimed as though he had scar tissue. And so Ray Robinson would face Tommy Bell. My issue is, when it came to Ray Robinson in 1941, and he received a lightweight opportunity with Sammy ANGOTT, July 21st, 1941. A welterweight championship opportunity against MARTY SERVO, September 25th, 1941, that same year. All of a sudden, the rules change. So he doesn't become welterweight champion until 1946, middleweight champion until 1951. Almost 200 fights later, Ray Robinson was shafted. And so when you compare accomplishments of fighters of today and other eras, the fighters who are telling you they were the greatest, they're leaving out detailed information because they understand you don't know. Ray Robinson and Henry Armstrong were shortchanged of opportunities. Armstrong was cheated out of a middleweight championship belt, 1940 against Seferino Garcia, when referee George Blake took 5 rounds away from him. And when you review the tape, those 5 rounds that were deducted was unjustified. As to Ray Robinson, he was never given a fair shake in 1941, both to Sammy ANGOTT or Marty SERVO, because they held the titles away from him. Then you have to take in consideration 1942 to 1946. Title was frozen. Robinson winds up capturing the welterweight championship belt. Now, how many title defenses he could have had when he would have decided to move to middleweight? Could have been a lightweight champion. How many lightweight titles, defenses he could have possibly had? We'll never know. So I just wanted to inform and enlighten you into that information. Ray Robinson is rated pound for pound, greatest fighter of all time, for many, many reasons, and well justified. So I just wanted to give you that information about Ray Robinson in 1941. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten. On my channel, I'm Scrapbook Boxing. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Salute to Marty SERVO. He was a good fighter. Special salute to the great Sugar Ray Robinson.